And we are live and recording. It's like nowadays we're live streaming, we're sharing, we're recording. It's on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. And I'm really excited to lean into this discussion with you on these social platforms, okay? Because so for everyone who's watching, today we are talking about the power of authenticity and vulnerability. And we're doing this live, okay? So when you go live on social media, it is one of the most terrorizing things in the world, right? Because you're putting yourself out there, and your authentic self and your vulnerable self is just out there, and then it's just out there in the universe. And that is something that the majority of people are afraid of. And of course, we're afraid of it because as human beings, we're afraid of judgment. We're afraid of resentment. We're afraid of losing people because we think or believe or act a certain way, right? And so being authentic and being really our true selves is a very, very courageous thing to do. And it's a difficult thing to do at that, because what are we? We are social creatures. If we're afraid of being alone, what is our innate being going to do? Well, it's going to do with the other person in front of me, what we think the other person in front of me wants us to do. It's a human thing. It's a biological thing because we are societal creatures, right? And so breaking through these barriers to become authentic and to become vulnerable isn't something that comes easy. It is something that we practice, okay? When we were kids, it was so easy, right?
Yeah,
We were just whatever we felt, we said, we shared, you know. When you met another kid, it was like there was no judgment happening, because we didn't have the whole burden of what are your political views, what are your cultural views, what are your religious beliefs, what are your diet beliefs. We didn't have that as children to agree or disagree upon. Okay. And then little by little bit, so little by little by little by little, we start thinking like, well, no, my favorite color is blue. Oh no, mine is, you know, and then like, oh, I don't like that song. And I see it in my 7-year-old. I see it with other kids, all of a sudden his tastes are changing, but you can't really tell, like, is it really his tastes that are changing, or is he being influenced by the outside world? And then as we grow up, we add more and more layers of what we can judge, right? There's so many more layers of what we can judge, and of course, so many more layers of what we can be judged on. So all of a sudden we're deconstructing everything that we learned as a child to re-become authentic and to re-become vulnerable. And that takes a lot of strength and a lot of courage to do, to be seen, to allow yourself to be seen. And when you are seen, no matter what happens, somebody out there will judge. And you hope that it's not your friends and family. You hope to that. You hope that you surrounded yourself with people that would love you through your growth and evolution and expansion as a human being. It's not always the case, you know? And for the to have the courage to just to prove this on social media, like live stream right now, I'll be vulnerable right now. I lost one of my best friends this year. 20 years of friendship. 20 years of friendship, my rock, you know? And when that happened, there was something that was liberated in me. And it wasn't so much, it wasn't the friendship. I love him so much. I have nothing but love and wish him well and gratitude for his presence in my life. But what happened in that moment, when I lost my best friend of 20 years, when we decided that, okay, well, this is not what I want anymore. This is not working. What happened is I had this realization, and that realization was people are going to come and go in your life. Even the people you thought would stay there until you're in the grave, people are going to come and go in your life. And so if people are going to come and go in your life, If they're going to come and go for a day or a month or a year or 5 years or 20 years, then why be afraid of losing them? Why be afraid of losing them over you being yourself in every facet of yourself? Why be afraid of you having to stay the person that you were 10 years ago in fear of losing people in the future? Because we're evolving and we're changing, right? As adults, we don't see it as much, right? As like when you look at children, between 1 month and a year old, the child has changed so much. And between 2 years old and 5 years old, the child has changed so much. And then again, from 5 to 10, 5 to 6 and 6 to 7 and 7 to 8, every single year, there's like so much growth and expansion happening in a child that you see it right away. And then we become adults. And that is still happening, but it's a lot more subtle. And so people expect you to be the same way you were when you were 18 years old. I'm 34 years old now. I'm not the same person I was when I was 18. So it's that courage to continue to be authentic and to continue to be vulnerable in the person that you have become and the person that you are becoming. Okay. And so we're talking about authenticity and vulnerability. Because to me, and I learned this really, really young, but nonetheless, I had to navigate that. And it's not easy. And it's not easy, but I think that when we do that, and I think that's something that I really appreciate that my mom had told me or like taught me, was to continue to be yourself no matter what people thought. And I think that's what we need to touch on today, about everybody just needs to learn to be themselves and to not be afraid to shine or not shine, to just be, to just be. Because when we do that, we allow other people to do it. And I think one of the best ways to do it also is to learn not to judge the other person, and the person, it's always a reflection, right? And so what I would love to know is, because I've done a whole lot of talking, I didn't know that all of this was going to come out, actually. I didn't. I want to invite my beautiful friend Mariah, because I see so much of her in me. And we met physically in Arizona a couple weeks ago. And yeah, I just saw so much of myself in you. And I saw this, and I'll tell you what I saw in you, because I keep telling you that, but I don't even think you know what I really saw in you. The part of me that I saw in you was this very strong character, this very, very strong character, but that, but also very observant, and I want to say quiet, and shy, but it's not quiet and shy. It's more like really observing before shining, like who's around, where am I? Is this a safe space? And when it became a safe space, I saw like Mariah dancing and Mariah smiling, Mariah talking, and so we allow ourselves to be authentic and vulnerable in safe spaces. I think that's the first place that we allow ourselves to do that, right? Is when we feel safe and we allow ourselves to feel seen. And so, and I saw that in you, and I know you're able to break out of your shell. I know that, because as soon as I was like, let's do this, and you're like, I'm scared. You're like, but let's do it. Like, I'm the same way. I'm like, somebody's like, let's do this. And I'm like, what? No, okay. I saw that in you right away. And that's the willingness to learn and to grow. And that's what I really saw in you. And so I want to ask you this question. I want to ask you, like, for you, what is authenticity? What does that mean?
It's such a good question. It's the fearless expression of the self. And I think what you touched on was really nice. That children, we see the growth in children very clearly. And once we become an adult, it's almost like we only put out the finished version after we did like a huge leap of growth.
Mhm.
And we don't show the messy in betweens, like what it took us to get there. And this is, I think, what makes me always super interested in hearing someone's story, for instance. So authenticity for me is allowing yourself to always express yourself the way that you are in that exact moment, and all the fears that come up and all those raw weird emotions. And even right now, like I have so many fears coming up, but it's like it's it's more worth to show yourself or to show up, even though you have the fear, than withdrawing, because then you're not allowing life to be expressed through you. And I think that's the beauty of free and authentic expression, is just to show up and allow everything that comes up to just come up. And I think then there's an actual chance of a genuine connection. Otherwise, it's also constructed and people can feel it. And it's not, it's boring in a way as well. If we keep on just putting out what other people think they will, it's enjoyable, then everything becomes very predictable, and it's not really an adventure, and we cannot allow each other to get inspired by each other, by our messiness, and like, oh, okay, you want to grow in becoming a leader. All right, that's probably not going to be super straightforward right away. It's going to be a road, and you're going to experience certain things that are uncomfortable. And how do you manage those uncomfortableness? And I think that's where people get drawn in to connecting with someone, is when they're really authentic and like raw and not scared to be vulnerable and to be like not perfect. Yeah, it's just like the free expression of self. I think that's what authenticity is. And children, they do portray this so beautifully. Like sometimes I'm jealous of children. I'm like, oh, they don't give a damn about what we're thinking right now. Like they're just saying this. They come straight to us, even though they don't even know us. They come and approach strangers because they have an initial wanting to say something, to express something that was in them. And I think that's so cool. And just relearning that it's okay to do that, and it's a journey. Yeah. Yeah.
It's definitely a journey, and I love the sentence you use, or the words that you use, was actually like to be yourself in the space that you are, but in the moment where you're there, right? In that very moment, like this is you, because in a different moment, you'll already have changed. By the time you've lived a different experience, your thought process and your belief system, everything has already changed, right? So it's really also like brings you back to the present of being yourself as I am right now.
Yeah.
And maybe tomorrow that'll be different, but right now this is what I'm showing up as. And what I've noticed in I'm going to touch a little bit more on vulnerability, and that'll be my next question to you. Like, how would you define vulnerability? Vulnerability. But I have found that some of the people, not some, of every single person who has opened up to me in the most honest and open ways are the people that I just like, I'm like, wow, you just shared that with me? And then when they do that, I have no fear to just share everything about myself. And I feel like you're going to relate to this, because I
Yeah.
don't just share parts of myself with people. I'll show up on social media a lot, but a lot of it, like there's a lot of, you pick and choose how you show up on social media, right? But when it comes to where are you from? Where are you from in life? How did you grow up? What happened here? Like I might not share that with people, but when somebody opens up to me and gives me that safe space to share, gosh, I'm an open book. I'm an open book. And I feel like you're probably the same way, in that if somebody's going to share openly with you, um, you'll be very happy to share back, right? And in those
You're breaking
people,
up. Could be my connection.
oh, you're gone.
Yeah, now you're back.
Yay, there you are. Uh, I saw your face was like this for a while. Yeah, what I was saying was, you know, when somebody opens up to you and gives you that space for you to share with them, I'm an open book,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, but I might not be with somebody who's reluctant and resistant, right? And
Sure.
I think that's what's so powerful about vulnerability is when you, yeah, I think I've said it already. When you give yourself the permission, you give the other person the permission to share as well. And then from that, exactly like what you said, right? You get to learn and inspire each other. I had a conversation this week. It was, no, a couple weeks ago. The conversation was so on the surface. It was like, "How are you?" "Good." "My kids are good. This is my job." "We're ha—" You know? I was like, "Great." That was a whole hour, and I don't know how you're feeling about life and if you're actually good. I just know what you do.
Yeah.
Okay? And so we got back on the phone again, yesterday, actually. And I was like, "Okay, so we had to catch up. I know what your day looks like. Now tell me how are you doing? What's going on with this and what are you feeling? How does that make you feel and why?" You know? And then the conversation got real. And when the conversation got real, I was able to open up about things that I wasn't opening up to about, you know? So what is vulnerability for you?
Hmm. Huh. That's a good question. It's expressing yourselves with a chance to be attacked in a way, because being vulnerable means that there's possibility of being hurt
Mhm,
in a way.
mhm,
Um, so allowing yourself to be in that danger zone while expressing yourself freely, and that's you are setting yourself up to be vulnerable. So of course everyone can jump in and actually attack you on something that is you, like because it's not something that you constructed to share. It's actually about what you're sharing. I'm an artist. I love to paint, right? And I think every artist can connect to it. Even you with your creations, you're artistic as well. This is our creation. So this is the most vulnerable thing that we are putting out there to be judged. So when I sell something, another piece of art, I wouldn't mind so much if someone else judges that. Sounds shady in a way, but it's. I think that's just what vulnerability does. It makes us. It's almost like our heart is now open. There's no armor around it. Everyone can pick and poke in it, and it is scary. Like it's so scary, but it's so worth it because of what you said. These days, I think we starved ourselves so much of actual vulnerability that conversations become predictable, even in the business, just in business in general. There's a trend I feel like is coming up that everyone wants to have real connections. We want to know what the real experiences are of people, and if products actually help them, and if they're just promoting them because it's a trend. I don't know. So I think in general in life, what I'm seeing right now is we all really want to have a genuine connection, and that's only by being vulnerable and allowing oneself to be vulnerable. Um, and also on social media, we are oversaturated with people wanting to be perfect. So if there's like one glimpse of a real person, it's so refreshing, and we immediately have this connection with them. We feel like, oh, okay, like how is this applied to us? Or there's an immediate feedback to how we feel about that specific topic. Like, oh, okay, actually, I also agree with this person. Or there's like more of a conversation, even by just experiencing someone being fully vulnerable and raw. So yeah, I think it's important to allow yourself to be judged um, in ways that we don't want to. I think Kiev's just left the room for children. Yes.
sorry. Sorry.
No, you're good. Mom and
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. It's like the courage to show your true self,
yeah,
and that like includes your fears, your weaknesses, your emotions, without the fear of judgment. The thing
yeah,
is, the fear of judgment is always going to be there, right? In a way, I think it's always going to be there, especially in the beginning when you start like working through this. Um, and so how do you move past that? So like what's an experience that you had that you were like, "Hey, I'm going to work through this. Like, I'm afraid, and this is
Hmm.
what I'm afraid of, and this is how I'm going to work through that.
I love that. I actually wrote something down because of this, because it came up and I was asking myself, when was it the easiest for me to just express myself authentically without judging myself too much, even though I have a fear of being judged. And it really was whenever I had so much love for myself. And it sounds so cliche, but love exceeds the fear. Like,
Hmm.
even though you have a fear, then I was just, it was in the beginning of the year and I did like an emotional clearing session with friend Jason. And I remember I came out of it and I still had my ceremonial gown and I didn't want to take it off. You know, I was just like, yeah, I'm feeling this right now and I'm going to go to the HEB. And I had the most beautiful conversations. And even though I was afraid, I wasn't afraid to let it take me over. Like, I still wanted to say the things that I wanted to say to them. And so for me, I think whenever I feel I'm saying yes to myself, then it becomes easier to just do it and feel the fear. Whenever I don't, I need to check in with myself, like, okay, now I'm judging myself way too much. And then I need to reconnect to myself and see, like, okay, what's important right now? What's important to me? And what fear is right now really having a hold on me? Sometimes the fear of judgment, but sometimes it's actually very specific about yourself and the way that you look, for instance, like you're judging yourself because you gained a little weight. They're like, and then really just reconnecting with yourself, sitting down and be like, okay, what is going on? And pouring more into yourself and more love, and then I can like go out there and actually face those fears better. So I think it's like a back and forth, like the wave in life, right? Sometimes we are so overwhelmed by all these things and we have so many expectations on ourselves that the love for self is like diminishing a little bit, and then the challenge of going against that fear is becoming bigger.
Yeah.
um yeah, so it's like continuous wave for me. So right now on the wave that I'm going to conquer my fears and I'm going to go on this life with Kieve. And
Yeah.
yeah, but it's an initial saying yes to myself and to like life, and I want to let life in. I want life to feel adventurous again and not
Mhm.
predictable and constructed and like control all the time. So yeah, conquering the fear, that's the way to go. And I think it's in business, it's with everything. We always are going to be afraid about certain things on our way to growing.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and I think love exceeds all the fears.
And it does. It really does. And not, there's the love for yourself, but also the love that you share,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so happy that you were afraid to to go live with me, especially last week, like, and that and that you were like, I'm gonna do it anyway. And I think there was also a part of, when I started going live years ago, I was so afraid. I used to like start sweating like profusely because and but like if I did it with somebody with who I felt comfortable
Mm,
and with who I felt like was um yeah, with somebody I felt comfortable, then all of a sudden it felt okay. Even though
yeah.
I was like sweating on the other on the other side of the screen. And so yeah, like that love for yourself, but also the love for the people around you and the people,
Absolutely.
you know, all
Yeah.
of that. And you yeah, yeah.
And actually, if I can say something, yesterday on the mastermind call, oh my God, you you shared so we have mastermind calls every Wednesday. That's one of the calls that doesn't get recorded and everyone's just open to share, and that is the place to be vulnerable and authentic. And I remember I was on that call and everyone had already raised their hands and I was like, oh, the time is passing. And I just had so many justifications in my mind of why I shouldn't raise my hand right now because it's not valuable what I'm going to say and all these things. And Kiev was one of the last persons to jump on, and she just put it in such a nice way, like the power of community and actually working through those fears and just showing up, the power of sharing vulnerable. And I wish kind of it was recorded because the way you said that was so beautiful. And I felt like, yes, I was so motivated. And I felt like it was like a kick in the butt about drop all these justifications, Mariah. The fear is there, and just do it and just raise the hand and experience the power of community. This is a safe space. And as you said, like the love of self does a lot, but especially feeling from other people that they want you to be to express yourself freely. And
Yeah.
and not that they're judgmental, and just you have to allow yourself to experience them loving you even though you're not perfect, and so I said to myself, next week on Wednesday I'm gonna raise my hand. There's no way around that, and even if I just say hi, that's gonna happen. And so thank you so much for that yesterday. That was so beautiful. And the power of community is very underrated, especially in a place of wanting to grow. Like, be surrounded by the people that actually want you to grow,
Yeah.
that are not afraid of, showing up as themselves. And so you set the ground of sharing vulnerable, and I'm just so grateful for that. That was perfect.
Oh,
Thank you
thank
so
you. I'm so happy that it resonated. And you know what? This is one of the things actually where um that I found in the past few years. If I don't share what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking, there's nobody benefiting from it, right?
Yeah.
And maybe on that call there were like 25 people, right? And
Mm.
maybe nobody in there like resonated with what I said. But if it got through to you in a way that can help you, then what, like my job is done.
Yeah, then you already won.
Like, yeah, if you can just find one person who you can help, then like that you've won, and so I think that's why it's so important for us to be sharing, and not just like, yeah, I'm not in it to just know how your day was. I want to know, like, really, how did you feel? How did that make you feel? What lights you up? This is a question I ask all the time. Like, what lights you up? Like, tell me, like, I really want
Yeah,
to know. I want to know
like what
because,
moves you?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And and a lot of us, like I said, like we hold back, or we put a facade out of fear of rejection and judgment and social expectations of how you should act and be in the world. And sometimes there's also like a little question of like balancing what you're sharing and whatnot.
Mm.
um but I think that there's balance in the world. Everything balances out. That's why I got this. But everything balances out, and so when you put yourself out there, you might sense some rejection, you might sense some judgment, okay? But by doing that, you're also going to find the people that really vibe with you and that really resonate with you.
True.
You're not going to
High
find
risk, high
those people.
reward.
Yeah. Like, you're
Yeah.
not going to find these people if you don't put yourself out there because you're afraid of these people, you know?
True.
And so you might as well just go for it and really find the people that resonate with you. And so I think that's super important. You brought up something that I wasn't sure if we were going to bring it up or not, but you did, and I feel like it ties in very nicely. Um,
Oh,
the fact that by being ourselves, um, and it's not even being ourselves, it's showing ourselves, showing our beings actually.
yeah.
Um, First of all, the first thing that you do with people is then you connect on a genuine level. You create that trust between people of like, okay, this is me, this is you, yay, let's exchange, right? But I want to bring it further to that, like, because now we're talking a lot about personal growth and how that can help us in our everyday life.
Mm.
But how does it affect us, and how does it impact us in business?
Mm.
Okay, so I'm gonna say in business. Um, I know there's a lot of network marketers here as well. So in business and in network marketing, I'm somebody who has both. I have my business, um, my jewelry business, right? And I also have my network marketing business. Okay, and through both of these, and especially network marketing, won't lie, um, I had to face these parts of myself. Like, I had to be like, first of all, how do I show up as me, as a real person on social media? That was like one of the first things I had to navigate. I was like, I don't know how to be me on social media. Like, I don't know how to be myself on social media. And so I was always like, I'm more of a like in-person kind of person. But the reason I'm more of an in-person kind of person is because when you're sitting next to me, okay, and this is what I observed in you as well, is that we're quiet.
Yeah.
we're quiet. We're not actually sharing like everything that we're thinking unless we feel like this is a safe place to do it. And when you're on social media, it is not a safe place to do it. It is
Yeah,
the least safe place to do it in social media, okay? And um and so by doing it here, you're really breaking down those fears.
true.
You're really breaking down those fears. And my businesses did that. Network marketing did that for me. My business did that for me. I make umbilical cord castings, okay,
Mm.
for a living. Like this is I make like solid silver, solid gold umbilical cord castings. When I'm in markets, when I'm out there promoting that, how many people do you think run away, giggling, screaming, scared, and thinking it's disgusting? So many.
Yeah,
So many people do. Okay. And every time it makes me laugh. It's that part of the vulnerability that you were sharing in our artwork, right?
mm,
It is deeply personal,
yeah.
deeply vulnerable to put your art out there. And so many people walk away like that. And I just laugh every time. But you know what's on the other side of that coin? So many people who are just like, this is genius. This is the most wonderful thing I've ever seen. This is so beautiful. How did you get that idea? Oh my God, I wish that existed. Like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Like, this is a real keepsake of your maternity. Oh my God, it's the only thing that like the unity between you and your child, you know? And so on the other face of that coin is that acceptance and that love and that belief that we're all searching for as social beings. And that's a wonderful thing. Network marketing. Network marketing? You afraid of losing people? Network marketing. Okay.
Yeah.
Join a network marketing company. I promise you, the people who weren't meant for you are just going to fall off. And the people who love you through your evolution and through your growth will stick by you. They will stick by you and they will be right by your side. I've got my best girlfriend did. The first thing she ever said to me, this was 5 years ago. She goes, "Oh, it's like a pyramid thing." And I laughed and I was like, "Yeah, sure." Yeah, sure. She sticks by me. She wrote to me, "I hope you get everything you're working so hard to get." You know? She's not in network marketing. Gosh, she didn't even have a green juice up until this week because I gave it to her. Okay? But she still supported me.
Mm.
Okay? So this is, being authentic, being vulnerable in your business or in your network marketing business also allows people, your customers, your clients to really connect with you and to want to jump on
Mhm.
your whatever you're doing, whatever it is that you're doing. And it's so important. It is so important. Network marketing, especially because it's a people business, right? It's a people
Yes.
business. You're not going to go with somebody who you don't resonate with. It doesn't work. Well,
Mm-mm.
it could work, but that's another topic. But you really learn to, yeah, create true genuine relationships and connections in network marketing. And I think that's one of the things that make people hate it so much. I also think it's one of the things that make people love it so much. Like, this is why I love network marketing, is because I have learned, I have not mastered yet, but I have learned how to create genuine connections with people. And to me, that's priceless. It's priceless to have real connections with human beings. I'm like, this is what we're here for. We're supposed to connect. In a world that is so disconnected, how can we connect? You know? And I think that's a very powerful thing. And so I would love to hear your version, your story, and your perspective about around being authentic, being vulnerable, being open um, in your careers.
I'm gonna start with a quote that I actually found just before the talk, and I thought this was so fitting. And she said, "The audience isn't looking for perfection; they're looking for connection. They're your real moments, and you'll find that authenticity resonates more than any polished post." And I think if I'm on the other side, like as a consumer of something, I'm more motivated to try out a product if I actually trust the product, right? And I trust what's being presented to me as information. I think so much on social media is fake that we have trust issues with social media. And this has to be addressed. And I think people sharing authentically, especially in the business, that, okay, this is a real business and we have real good intentions. And this is why and why. That's when integrity comes into place. And like Dave, I've never, ever see this level of integrity and transparency in any business before. And that's why I was trusting them with my heart, and then I trusted the products. I experienced them on my own body, going to the convention, experiencing the professionalism in combination with the transparency and authenticity. It elevates just the whole business in general and how many people you can actually reach. Because even though network marketing is a people business, I think every job would benefit from working more with people in an authentic way. You can see this in a trend in marketing in general, like also big companies. They're trying to get more influencers because they know, okay, an actual single person with a real experience has way more power than a polished advertisement on the TV screen, right? Like,
Yeah.
Everyone is catching up onto that trend, and there's a reason for it. And I think it's just because we are so ready as humanity right now to have real experiences again, and not something that is so polished and constructed. So for me in business, actually, also, so 2 years ago, just a little loop around, I made the decision I'm going to be a tattoo artist. I always grew up with the idea that you can't make money with your art and just sharing that creativity. And I was like, no, I'm going to prove myself wrong. And I moved to the States, and within the first week, I got this apprenticeship. But then I was like, okay, now I actually need to face so many other fears that I didn't even know existed, like sharing your art with people. And especially when someone comes to you and they want your artwork, but they have their own little idea as well. So you have to be open that they might not like your first draft of the artwork that you did. And there was just so many things that came. But while in my job with being a tattoo artist, being vulnerable is so important because it's an important thing to them as well. So I needed to set up myself as being also vulnerable and perceptive to their stories and their ideas. And so I think it grew from like saying yes to, I want to do something that is from me, like a service that is true to me, and I can offer this to someone. And Purium is the same thing to me. Like, I've seen the problems, in nutrition and just environment and all these things. And a lot of people want to make a difference. They don't know how. And there's so many companies that are not as transparent. So then it's a little bit harder to really go fully for it. And in Purium and the business, I think what I've learned is be you and be the change. Like, it sounds so cliche, but be the change. Like, people around me are seeing, okay, I am more vocal, I'm more healthy. These things, it's an evidence. It's not something that I'm saying. It's actually happening. And this creates trust. And then they're like, okay, why? And then there's a conversation around it. So I think it's really by being, you draw people in, like as you shared as well. And that's where authenticity and vulnerability in business is huge and actually worth a lot. And it's a quicker way sometimes to gain someone's trust because you actually care about them and you care about being real and having real experiences, adding onto their life in a real way. And this always shines through. So Purium for me was just the most logical, no-brainer decision to be involved with them, because it's not just growing my health and just my personal development, it's also helping other people grow. I'm like, this is a win-win situation. Like, why wouldn't I want to be involved in this? So yeah, I just blabbed all around. I'm so sorry.
No, do not be sorry. This is like no, it's called being unapologetically yourself. This is what I like. That's what I strive for. Like, I don't apologize for people for
Yeah,
being me. I'll apologize like if I do something wrong, but like I don't apologize for being me. I'm like, or for going, like, I don't because I'm like, this is me. And
that's
like,
perfect. Yeah.
if you don't like it, then you go away. But I'm
You
here.
don't have to listen. Yeah, that's true.
you know, and I'll still be
Mhm.
here if you want to come back. Like, That's all I so yeah, being your
That was the perfect moment actually, because that's important. Don't apologize, and I keep doing that stuff.
yeah,
So
like, there's nothing to
yeah.
apologize for unless you break my leg, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think I so badly wanna see more people be themselves and say what
Yeah.
they think. I wanna see people say what they think. We live in cancel culture right now,
Mm.
which I have, like, conflicted emotions about, um, but I like the idea of free speech,
Yeah.
free conversation, open conversation, honest conversation, and learning to communicate.
Mhm.
This all ties in to that, the the ability to communicate, the ability to listen, the ability to understand, you know, and so that we can learn to have a little less judgment, and maybe if we judge a little less, we'll be more open to being authentic and more open to being
Mhm.
vulnerable, which will lead to being more inspired and motivated and want to share something and create something in this world and just, I don't know, like live. Just live.
Almost like the movement towards life. So many things they accompany just by being real and vulnerable, as you say, and so
Yeah.
beautiful.
And so obviously I mean, this is such a beautiful call. I'm so happy we touched on this, and like it was definitely um I don't know, showing up on social media is definitely a nerve-wracking thing. But I've shown up on social media to talk about superfoods and talk about the business, but to talk about a topic like this, um, is it feels different, right?
Yeah.
And for me, I remember the first time I went, like, I am so afraid of heights. And
Mm,
so
same.
when I was 17, I was like, I'm gonna go jump out of this airplane. And I went skydiving, and then I did it again the year after, and then I did it again 3 years later. And then I was like, okay, well, you face those fears, and all of a sudden it
Mm.
doesn't seem so bad anymore. And then I was still afraid of heights, but this time, like, of being there. So I went rock climbing, and I threw myself off the wall. And that's a scary thing to do when you're rock climbing, and they're like, okay, let go. And I'm like, you know, these are some of the fears that I experienced. And one of the other fears I experienced was losing people
Mm.
through judgment. And then, it happened for no particular reason. And so I encourage people to do things even when they're afraid, you know. Um, hi, come. And okay, I'm coming. I'm coming. And so this wraps it up pretty much, I think. What do you
Yeah.
say?
No, that was perfect, and you closed it off really nicely. We're all inviting everyone to be more themselves and just see what happens. And it's high risk but high rewards. I think that's very important.
That is such a beautiful way to end this call. It's high risk but high reward. On that note, I'm going to go be a mom.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you so much for sharing. Thank you so much
You.
for coming on this live and talking about this and being authentic and being yourself and being vulnerable on social media. I super appreciate that.
Me too. Thank you so much, Kieve.
Thank
Have a
you.
beautiful day.